morning everybody, Cam back here. Just started my camera up. I just missed something that I thought was funny. I think lockdown and homeschooling might be getting to people. It's now the 6th of March and the kids go back to school in 2 days. But I've just seen a woman in full running gear running along the road. Well, the side of the road, you know, the pavement. The sidewalk, as the Americans would say. And you don't think much of it. But I heard, "Mummy!" And there's a kid running also in full running gear. The kid was probably all of 6 years old and about 100 yards behind his mother. Is this now? I've been homeschooling you for far too long. I don't even want to see you anymore. Stay back. We're approaching the first easing of the 3rd lockdown. It's now a year that we've either been in lockdown or had some kind of restriction. It's weird not seeing people. Basically, for quite a long time now, the only person I've seen is Mrs. C. And I'm not going to grumble about that. But it is weird to not have seen anybody. The people I work with, I am working all the time, but I'm working from home. So I don't get to see face to face the people I work with, only over Microsoft Teams. I actually employed somebody at the start of this year and I've never met him. Interviewed over Teams. I've no idea how tall he is. I know roughly what he looks like, but no idea how tall he is. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about that particular subject because that seems to be all anybody's been talking about for a year now, and it's really boring. I thought what I'd talk about is, well, I watched a video of Graham's the other day, Adventures with Woody, and he had a topic. He didn't set it out as a challenge, but I think, well, not a challenge, a topic for everybody to talk about, but I think I'm going to steal it anyway and suggest that other people do too, because I thought it was quite an interesting one. And he was talking about things that he's started doing since riding a motorbike. Now, obviously not just since riding a motorbike, but linked to taking up riding a motorbike. So I thought I would pick up on that one as well and give you my rundown, because if nothing else, I haven't done a video in a long time. I thought about doing some videos in the garage, because the videos are going to be fairly short, because you've only got essential travel to do to record them in, so they're going to be fairly short. But thought about doing some in the garage, but I never really got round to it. If you want to see any garage videos, let me know in them there comments, maybe I'll do one or two. So on with the 5 things that I've started doing since learning to ride a motorbike. And the first one, and there's quite some similarity in some of these, mainly because I haven't been riding that long. The first one that I started doing was related to vlogging in a way. When I got the bike, or I got my first bike, and you want to kind of look back and see the mistakes you're making, or I did anyway, to understand the mistakes I was making and try not to repeat them. And I got the camera, and then I was kind of watching Roadcraft Nottingham, Skeggy Cruiser, Jim Payne, the old fart on a motorbike, sadly no longer with us, and a few others, and got me interested in the old vlogging malarkey. But that's kind of obvious that I do that one, isn't it? So I'm not going to talk about that one. But that kind of got me into video editing and video production, and now you may well say I'm not very good at it. You're probably right. But I do find it fascinating, all of the things you can do with editing and special effects and all that kind of stuff, and I play around with it for my own amusement generally, away from the vlogging. The vlogging I tend to keep fairly simple really, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of flashy things with the vlogging. I tend to just stick with whatever it is I'm talking about rather than worrying about the flashies. But outside of that, the flashy stuff's quite interesting to play with. Concentrate for a minute. So that's the first one. It's just kind of video editing and production in general, and it's kind of started me off on something that I used to do many years ago when I first got a computer, really, which was 3D work. So creating 3D models in a computer and doing video and stuff around them. I remember it's a lot faster nowadays. The stuff I was doing, oh blimey, far too long ago now, maybe 30 years ago, that would take days to render is now real time on modern graphics cards. But yeah, it's kind of got me back into that kind of thing, and it's quite interesting to play with. If you're into that kind of thing, it's you'll know what I mean. And the way that the technology's moved on, you can make things that nowadays in a computer that are barely distinguishable from reality. That's why I get annoyed at some modern films with bad graphics when they do the CGI. I've talked about that before, but when they do the CGI and it's not as good as it can be, it's kind of annoying, because you know what is possible, and you think, why haven't you done something better than this? So the video editing and the 3D kind of stuff, that's one that I've definitely got into. 3D, as I say, I was into anyway, but stopped for quite some time, and then the video editing's kind of brought me back into that. Second thing that's kind of related to that, in a way, is the drone. You've seen me do a couple of videos where I've had a drone shot or two in there, and I'm planning on probably doing quite a few more of those when we're allowed to go to places that are actually worth videoing. But the drone, that's quite an interesting one for me. Again, going back 30 years, cameras were things you held in your hand, you looked through a piece of glass on the back, not at a screen, and you took 36 pictures, and when you were finished taking your 36 pictures, you'd take them to Boots or Quick Print, or I don't know what they were called actually. one of the places that would develop your film, and you would have then a few hours wait to a few days wait to come home, or to go back and come home, clutch in a bag full of 36 pieces of paper, 18 of which had a reasonable picture on, and 18 of which had a sticker on saying, you did something wrong, not us developing it, which I always found somewhat dubious. Cameras didn't back then have a screen on the back. They didn't allow you to take as many pictures as you like. They weren't attached to a phone that allowed you to send them to your friends. And one thing they certainly didn't allow you to do was fly whilst recording video. And I start to feel old. I love this new technology. I'm not at the point of old yet to be going, this newfangled technology, what a waste of money. Although I do like to say to people that computers won't catch on, which is something an uncle of mine used to say, and I always found it amusing, so I stole it. But yeah, flying cameras. Flying cameras, not only are they flying, but when they're half a mile away, a little rectangle in your hand is showing you what they're looking at. Amazing technology. So third thing, let's keep the theme similar for the third one. The third one is something I started doing, well, just over a year ago. It seems less than that, but that's because I've had so little time to do it. Like the drone, I've not been able to do this one because you can't really go out just to do your hobbies at the moment. And this is through motorbiking again, but not directly at all. This one is through motorcycling. I met Tosh, as well as many other people. Made some great friends through motorcycling. But Tosh, amongst his hobbies, and he's now doing it kind of semi-professionally in a way, because he's doing weddings and whatnot, is a bit of a photographer. And I happened to go out with Tosh one day. I mean, it might have been his idea all along, but I doubt it. But I happened to go out with him one day when he'd got a new camera, and he said, "Well, shall we go for a ride and go and take some photographs, and you can use my old camera?" Now his old camera became my new camera, or my first ever DSLR. So I've been getting into the photography. I'm absolutely rubbish at it. I keep sending photos to Tosh, and there's a few where he's gone, now that's a photo, and he's really impressed with my photographic skills. Unfortunately, it's less photographic skills and more complete and utter luck. But been getting into the stills photography, so it led to a weird situation really for me now that I've got kind of into the video side of it and the drone side and the still photography. I never know what to take with me when I go out. If I put my backpack on with my camera gear on, my drone doesn't fit in it. And even if it did, by then I'm completely weighed down by all the lenses and whatnot, because I got a couple of lenses when I bought the camera off Tosh and a few other bits and pieces. And because I quite like wildlife, particularly birds, I ended up with a couple of long lenses. One that I started with, and then I thought I want something better than this. I ended up with quite a long lens, big Tamron thing that weighs about 1.5 kilos just for the lens. So I end up weighed down by these things. I never know what to take. I'd never take the camera on the bike on a backpack because it's too much to carry with it banging around on a bike on my broken shoulders. But I have taken it on the bike when I've been out with Tosh, and it's gone in one of his panniers. So that's number 3. So I will talk about number 4 after I've been to the shop. Ugh, salt everywhere. Think I should be washing the bike. I spent all of winter working on the bike and getting it spotless. It took 10 minutes to undo that and get it covered in salt. Ah dear, at least it's covered in ACF 50 first. So anyway, number 4. Number 4 is another indirect one, but it's linked to the previous one, the DSLR thing. It's also linked to the vlogging, and again the going and showing people things. I started with the going and showing people things with things I could ride right up to. So things like the Devil's Arrows and the Druid's Temple and Rudston Monolith, all those kind of things. And then when I went to the aeroplane crash, there was a bit of walking involved. Quite a bit of walking actually. Quite a few miles up a rather large hill and across a peat bog. Quite entertaining. There were a couple of occasions where we thought we might have to turn around and go back, especially on the way out. We went out a different way to the way we went in, and we thought we'd have to leap across a foaming river from all the water coming out the peat bog. But we did find a way around it in the end. It meant we had much less leaping and much less distance to fall into what would have washed us away. So we kind of persevered because we already walked about 5 miles and we didn't fancy going all the way back again. But the walking bit was interesting. We're getting into the walking a lot more with Mrs. C. It seems a bit anathema for somebody who likes a motorbike to give it up and start walking. Well, I'm not giving it up, but the walking's quite good. It's healthy, I suppose, and it gets to see things that you can't see in a vehicle, like things in the middle of the Peak District. So we've kind of started doing that walking thing. It's not quite as hectic as the running thing that some people are doing, like this chap up here, or the little kid chasing his mother down this morning and failing. She seems to be accelerated, you know, and he was trying to catch up. She was definitely getting faster. But yeah, we're doing the walking, so much so that we thought last year, 2020, our plan was we were going to climb or walk up, because they're not that climby, a bit climby in, but all of the mountains in the Peak District, or in that part of around there in Yorkshire and stuff. I can't remember exactly what the boundary is, but there's like a named set of hills, or they are technically mountains on the basis that they're over 2,000 metres tall and they have a certain drop over 2,000 metres above sea level, I think it is, and a certain drop that has to be there and whatever. But blooming big hills is what I'd call them. So that's another thing that's come out, kind of not directly or slightly indirectly, but completely indirectly from the old motorcycling. So for number 5, I'm going to come right back. Number 5 is all about motorcycling and the Yorkshireman in me. Got a motorbike, loved it. Ended up buying another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. Oh dear. I probably bought too many, but can you have too many motorbikes? And motorbikes are brilliant. The performance you get, the fun you get for the price of a small car or less, you know, you kind of can't go wrong. But they do cost quite a bit to maintain. I remember going for a service on one of the bikes, might be in the XJ6. It wasn't that big a service, you know, it was oil, filter, a couple of other little bits. And it was over £200. I thought that's a bit steep. And I can't remember how we got to it, but somehow we got to the point where it was Tosh. I only just met him at the time, where he kindly offered to come round and show me how to do it. So next time it was time to do oil and filter and a few other bits and pieces, Tosh came round and... or did I go there? Well, I can't remember. I think we videoed it. Or maybe we didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'll look back and see, or maybe you can. Maybe I can't be bothered. But Tosh came round and we serviced the bike. And what would have been a kind of £250 plus service for spark plugs and filters and oil and air filter and bits and pieces like that turned into a £50 service. And that really triggered the Yorkshireman in me. So the number 5 thing, the last one that I got into, was servicing and bits of kind of mechanical work. I'm no mechanic. I'm definitely a DIY service, follow the service manual type person, but done a few little bits on the bike. Other than that, you know, nothing spectacular, but fitting heated grips and bits and pieces like that, fitting exhaust and alarms and trackers and all that kind of thing. But just servicing the bike. This light's taking longer than I thought it would, so I'm going to wait before I carry on. Oh, I know it's changing, so I won't. Yeah, just servicing the bike and being able to kind of learn how to do that. Initially, obviously you're saving some money, which is a great thing if you're a Yorkshireman. But also then to learn about the bike, to actually understand how things work. Being able to diagnose quite a few faults, not all of them by any means, but quite a few. And in some cases being able to correct those faults. And it's something I recommend to everybody to try, and where they live within a certain distance I'll help as well when I can, when we're allowed to meet up. But aside from the saving of the money and the learning, it's just that sense of satisfaction that you've either found a problem and fixed it yourself, or that, you know, the bike needed servicing and you serviced it yourself. And that's led me as well into servicing the car, which has been quite an eye-opener, because the car used to cost me quite a lot in servicing. I mean, I don't drive anywhere near as much as I used to nowadays. It's basically just sitting there and rotting on the driveway at the minute. But the car is quite an eye-opener, because it's, you know, £350–400 to get a full service done on it. A big service, not a yearly service or a buy-year, but every 4 years. It's you know, it's several hundreds of pounds. And when I actually got hold of the Haynes manual, understood what was involved in that, and did it myself, it cost me 60 quid. It actually cost me 65 because there was a tool I needed to remove the spark plugs, or rather to remove the thing that's above the spark plugs, a special tool. It's Volkswagen specific. And I looked that tool up, and the official Volkswagen tool was £80 and only available in America. And it was £80 for delivery, so 160 quid I think it was, there or thereabouts. I got it for a £5, a copy, a clone from China. But it got delivered pretty quickly. I don't think it's as tough as a real one. I don't think it'd last long for a, you know, like a workshop or anything. But for me, that's changing the spark plugs every 4 years, I've got one go out of it. I think it'll last me another 2, so should last me the length of time I've got the car. But again, something I'd have never done had I not got into bikes and met the people I've met through motorcycling. Anyway, Royal Enfield there. Graham will be looking at that, licking his lips. Anyway, that's my 5. I'm sure I've gone on a little bit longer than I needed to, but I've used up most of my essential travel ride to do it. But hopefully you enjoyed it. And let me know what you think in them there comments. And let's keep it going. Let's have your things, your 5 things you did, or you do, that you've taken up since learning to ride a motorbike. Thanks for watching, everyone. Ride safe. And I'll talk to you all again soon.